How you all doing? Welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be filming my most disappointing reads of 2018. So I'm actually really excited to film this video because I find it a lot easier to talk about books that I dislike as opposed to books that I did like. So I have 6 books to talk about today. It was 5 and then I remembered one, so now it's 6. It's fine. So these are not books that I necessarily hated. I don't think I actually hated any of these books. They were just books that severely disappointed me in some way because my expectations were set too high or whatnot. Just going into this video, letting you guys know I don't necessarily hate any of these books. I did like some aspect, I think, of most of these books. Yeah, so let's just get right into this video. Don't hate me if one of your favorite books is on this list. I'm sorry. Let's go. This is in order from the one that disappointed me the least to the one that disappointed me the most. So let's just get started. Okay, so the first book on this list coming in at number 6 is Emergency Contact by Mary H.K. Choi. I don't remember where I first saw it on BookTube, but I saw it and the concept sounded really interesting to me and I knew immediately that I needed to have it, and also this cover is so freaking stunning that I really wanted it on my shelf. So this book is essentially about our main characters Penny and Sam, and they kind of start this emergency contact type of situation where they just text each other and they don't really talk in real life. It's like solely text-based friendship, and that really intrigued me because personally I prefer texting to physically talking to people because I find it a lot easier to get my point across and get my words out. So I thought that I would be really able to relate to the characters in this book and relate to the story, and there were times where I could relate to it and there were times where I was enjoying the book, but overall I didn't really connect to any of the characters or to the story in the way that I was really wanting to. I didn't really care what happened to the characters, I didn't really care what was happening, but like I said, there were things that I did like. I don't remember what they were, but I do remember not fully hating this book. I think I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. I also just didn't think that it was as cute as I was wanting it to be. I didn't like the romance in the way that I was hoping I would. It just felt really flat for me and didn't live up to the own expectations that I had put in my head. I was severely disappointed by this book, and I do want to try rereading it now that I know what the story is like, hoping that I can enjoy it more the second time. Maybe, I don't know. I just really want to love it because I love this cover and I don't want to unhaul it because it's one of the prettiest covers I've ever seen in my life, but we'll see. This is number 6 in my most disappointing reads of 2018. Coming in at number 5 is Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. So I had really high hopes for this classic for a few different reasons. One, I love the Disney film and I love the idea of Alice in Wonderland, so I was really hoping that I would love this story from the original storyteller in its original format and everything. Also, my brother is obsessed with Alice in Wonderland. He has a couple different editions of the story, so I figured he loves the original so much, why wouldn't I love it? And he just kept saying how dark it was and how really good it was, and I was just really excited, hyped up in my head. I went to read it when I did a little mini, I think it was like a 48-hour fairy tale readathon. I don't even remember, but I wanted to read some fairy tales, and I was reading this one and I was just very bored the entire time that I read it. I did read it in one sitting because it is so short, but I was bored the entire time I was reading it. I had to force myself to finish it, unfortunately. I wasn't enjoying my time at all while reading it. I didn't enjoy basically anything. I didn't like the writing. I don't know. I didn't like it. And I'm very mad about it because I really wanted to love it, but I didn't. Coming in at number 4 on this list is The Becoming of Noah Shaw by Michelle Hodkin. If you know me at all, you know that I love the Mara Dyer series with my whole heart. I love Noah Shaw, I love Mara Dyer. And so when Michelle Hodkin announced that she was writing a continuation of the story from Noah's point of view, where he would get his own continuing trilogy sort of thing, I was really excited because I wanted more from the series. I wanted more of Noah Shaw because he's my everything. But I was hesitant to pick this book up once it came out because, one, I wanted to reread Mara Dyer before I went into this one to refresh my memory, so that stopped me. And then in that time period that it took me from this book coming out to me actually rereading the Mara Dyer series, so many mixed reviews came out about this book. Mainly negative reviews were coming out. People just weren't loving it as much as they loved Mara Dyer. It really disappointed them. And so I was really nervous to jump into this book. My friend Aaliyah also didn't love this book, and she also loves Mara Dyer. I was really, really nervous going into it. And I had set my expectations relatively low, knowing all these negative reviews were out there and knowing that people weren't happy with it. I thought, well, I'll set my expectations low, I won't expect much, and hopefully I'll enjoy it more than everyone else. I didn't. I had a lot of problems with this book. So the story just fell flat for me. I was kind of bored through the majority of it. I think it did pick up near the end, if I'm remembering correctly, like in the last 30 to 50 pages. I was enjoying it a bit more. But overall, the story just fell flat. I was bored. And also, my biggest complaint, I think, about this story is the characters. The characters just didn't feel authentic to themselves. They felt very odd and different, and especially since I went into this book immediately after rereading The Retribution of Mara Dyer. All the characters were so fresh in my head, and I went into this one and something just like immediately felt off about them. The characters just didn't feel like themselves. I wasn't really interested in the story. I am going to be continuing on with this series. I do own The Reckoning of Noah Shaw, which is the sequel to this one. So I will be continuing in hopes that it gets better, but we'll see. I mean, I want to love it, but this one just fell really, really flat for me. I didn't connect to it. I didn't enjoy it. I can't remember what I rated it, but it was around a 3-star. Now we're in the top 3 of my least favorite books. Coming in at number 3 is More Happy Than Not by Adam Silvera. I actually read this book twice this year because I wanted to love it that much. So I read it first, I believe, in January of 2018, so a year ago. And I listened to it on audiobook, and I did not like it. I could not connect with the characters or with the story. I did like the concept of this world and everything. If you don't know, it's basically about this near future society where there's this thing called the Lateo Institute, where they can basically erase your memories, like bad memories and things that you just don't want to remember anymore. And so that really intrigued me. I was really excited to get into the story, especially since I read History Is All You Left Me before reading this one, and I love that book with like everything in me. It's so good, and I was expecting for this one to be just as good, and it wasn't. So I let the rest of the year go by, and then I read more Adam Silvera. I read They Both Die at the End and What If It's Us. Was obsessed with both of them, and I was like, maybe it was just the audiobook that ruined my enjoyment, because sometimes when I listen to an audiobook, I just feel a disconnect between myself and the characters in the story by having someone else read it to me. So I picked it up physically because I wanted to love it. I enjoyed it slightly more, not enough to change my rating, which I think still remained at a 3.5 or a 3-star. I think it was a 3-star actually. Didn't enjoy it enough to raise that rating. I still felt the same. I didn't really care about the characters. I found myself caring a little bit more about Aaron, which is our main character, but just not enough to like actually care about him, if you know what I mean. Like, he's not like a favorite character by any means. I didn't like his girlfriend Genevieve. I didn't like Thomas, which was one of his new friends. I didn't like any of his friends going into this book. I really didn't like them at all, which I think is kind of the point, but I just really didn't like them. I don't know, I just felt this huge disconnect with the characters, and I'm a character-driven reader, and so having not liked the characters really ruined the rest of the book for me. But because I did like the plot and kind of where the plot went, I really like the ending of this book, the last maybe 50 to 100 pages, I'm not quite sure, but I really like the ending of this book, maybe the Act 3, I like Act 3. And as you can see, I do have tabs in this book, so I don't hate this book by any means. I'm going to keep it on my shelf, but I just didn't love it as much as I wanted to. I kind of wish I read this book first, maybe, before reading all of his other works, because I feel like History Is All You Left Me set such a high standard for Adam Silvera, and this one, being his debut, just didn't live up to those expectations that I had. My top 2 most disappointing books of the year. I'm so sad about these. I never thought that this book, or this author, would be on my most disappointed books list, but coming in at number 2, Save the Date by Morgan Matson. Again, if you know me at all, you know that Morgan Matson is one of my favorite authors. especially contemporary authors, okay? Like, I own all of her books. I've loved all of her books. I even love her Katie Finn books. And I was really excited for this one. It's about a wedding, our main character's sister's wedding, and everyone like comes home, like the family gets all back together, and everyone's like really excited about this wedding that's taking place at the weekend of this book. But essentially everything that could go wrong in the wedding goes wrong. And that was in the synopsis, you know, that's how everyone talks about this book. But I don't think anyone quite anticipated how many things would actually go wrong. When she said anything that could go wrong does go wrong, I didn't expect literally anything. Like everything would go wrong. Everything went wrong, and it really bothered me. It got to the point, I've heard this a lot, it got to the point where so many things went wrong that it just felt really unrealistic. And every time something new would happen that went wrong with the wedding, it just felt more and more unrealistic, and like this would never happen unless you have all the bad luck in your life, right? So that was my first like thing that I didn't like about the book, was I didn't like how so many things went wrong, because it kind of like overpowered everything, okay? Morgan Matson tends to be more of a character-driven writer, more character development and stuff than plot, or like a good like balance of the two, and also romance. Always a good romance that is swoon-worthy and amazing. I didn't get any of that with this book. This didn't feel like a Morgan Matson book. The writing felt like Morgan Matson, but the plot and the characters did not. I didn't really like any of these characters except for one of the brothers, JJ. I didn't really care for the romance. I mean, I did like it, but I wanted more from it, and we didn't get that more from the relationship. So I love friendships in Morgan Matson books. We also didn't really get strong friendships in this book, which really bothered me. There were some things that I did like, struggling to remember what they were this far down the line from reading it. Are you guys ready for number 1? My most disappointing read of the year 2018. It might not be a surprise to you guys, because if you saw my mid-year book freakout tag or my wrap-up that features this book, you'll know how I feel about it. And that's Leah on the Offbeat by Becky Albertalli. Oh boy. So I love Becky Albertalli, okay? I love Simon Verses, literally obsessed with it. Love the episode of Unrequited, and so I also love What If It's Us, but that came out after this one. And so I was really excited for this book. I was also just really excited for more in the Simon verse. I almost said Spider-Verse. Completely different. I wanted more from the Simon verse, and I wanted more from Simon's crew of people in particular, and I knew that she was never going to publish a sequel, like a direct sequel with Simon and Blue, because she said it before, but she doesn't want to touch those characters as main characters again, because she doesn't want to ruin their relationship and like add conflict to their story. She wants them to be happy, which is why she'll never write a direct sequel about them, which I'm okay with. I don't want anything wrong with them. I love them. So this one follows Leah, which is Simon's best friend, and I didn't love Leah in Simon Verses, especially my reread. I don't love Leah in Love, Simon the movie, but I was still excited for this book. I really wanted to, you know, learn more about Leah, get closer into her character and learn more, and I was excited to see all of my favorite characters again. My favorite parts of this book, I do remember what I liked about this one. I obviously liked the writing style, because I like Becky Albertalli. My favorite parts, though, were scenes that included Blue and Simon. They were all that I cared about. Any scene that they were in automatically became a favorite part of the book, gave me like super happy smiles on my face. That was a weird sentence. But honestly, so many things went wrong with this book. I don't like Leah. She's annoying. I don't like Leah. I did not like the romance in this book because it felt very forced, and I don't want to spoil anything, but it's with a character that we know from Simon Versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda, and it felt very forced. It felt out of nowhere, out of the blue. It just felt rushed, forced, and just like it never should have happened, and I couldn't really understand it. Also, Nick, which is one of my favorite characters from Simon Versus, one of my favorite characters from Love, Simon. This is not my Nick, okay? Everyone has said this, because this just didn't feel like the Nick that we know and love, and it was awful. Loved Garrett. This book did give me a new love for Garrett that I never really had before. Love him. But yeah, this book overall just did not hit the mark like I was wanting it to. I've hardly heard any good things about this book, although surprisingly I have seen it on a few favorites lists of the year, which I was not anticipating seeing. So some people did enjoy this book, but I think the majority of people who love Simon did not like this book. While I did enjoy some aspects of this book, and I did enjoy it as I was reading it, once I like took a step back from it after reading it, I did not like the book. I did not like the characters and how they were portrayed in this book, except for Simon and Blue and Garrett. It just didn't live up to the hype. It didn't live up to Simon Versus or anything. And I just really wish that this book didn't exist. I kind of just wish we got like a short story or something about Simon and Blue, or because there is like a subplot with Simon and Blue in this book that was interesting and has a bit of conflict. So I much rather would have preferred just seeing like a short story or like a novella with that conflict as the main part of the book and focusing on them and just seeing like their side of the story and having like Leah far in the background. Those were my most disappointing reads of 2018. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Give it a huge thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Comment down below what some of your least favorite books of 2018 were, because I'd really love to discuss that with you guys. Subscribe if you have not yet already, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!